I am not going to tell you the highway. I am not going to tell you the state. If I tell you, you'll go looking. And if you go looking, you'll find it. And if you find it, you sit down. That's how it works. I am a long-haul trucker, 11 years on the road. And on the night of December 4th, 2 years ago, I took the exit at mile 87. I sat in booth 9, I picked up the menu, and I read my own name on it. I ate one bite. That's the only reason I'm still talking to you. 2 years later, I am still driving. I am still picking up freight. I am still sleeping 4 hours a night in a cab that smells like burnt coffee and diesel. But I am picking my routes the way a man picks where he sets his feet in a minefield. And every year, on the same date, on the same kind of stretch of two-lane blacktop, the 8 voices come back on a frequency that doesn't exist. And they call my name like an old friend, asking me when I'm finally coming home. Let me tell you how the road eats people. And let me tell you what 8 names on a menu look like in the wrong handwriting at the wrong hour, when the 9th name is yours. My name is Marco Bolan. I drive a 2018 Peterbilt 379 sleeper cab, and for the better part of a decade, my job has been moving freight from one coast to the other and not asking questions about what's in the trailer. Pharmaceuticals, auto parts, frozen chicken, sometimes containers I'm told not to scan. The pay is good, the hours are bad, the marriage didn't survive it. The dog did until last spring. 11 years long haul. You learn things they don't put in the trucking manuals. You learn which way stations are open and which are theater. You learn which truck stops in Arkansas will have your tires slashed by morning if you sleep in the wrong row. You learn that the road has its own folklore, and the folklore is mostly true. Most of what we tell each other on the CB is junk. Bears at mile 20, lot lizards at the Pilot in Effingham, some kid in a four-wheeler doing 80 in the Hammer Lane with no headlights, but every now and then, late at night, when the freight is light and the channel is empty and you've been awake for 30 hours and the white line is starting to do that thing where it looks like it's moving sideways, every now and then somebody talks about the diner. The legend goes like this. There is a stretch of highway, and every trucker who tells the story names a different one, and every one of them is lying about the name on purpose. Where, sometimes, on the side of the road, a green reflective sign appears for an exit that is not on any GPS. Mile 87. The marker reads, food, gas, rest, 1 mile. Beneath the official sign, somebody has zip-tied a little hand-painted board. White letters on black. It says the same thing every time. Sue's Diner. Open all night. Every night. The drivers who tell the story will tell you about Highway Sue. They'll tell you she went missing in 87 outside Amarillo. They'll tell you they saw her behind a counter last Tuesday. They'll tell you about the 8 names they keep hearing on closed channel CB, the ones the radio shouldn't even pick up. Drivers who never came home, drivers whose trucks were found, engine running, half a tank of fuel, no body, no signs of struggle, on the shoulder of a road that wasn't on their route. I had heard the legend 100 times. I had laughed at it about 99 of those. The 100th time I had been 3 weeks into a Pacific Northwest run, drinking burnt coffee in a Petro outside Spokane, and a driver I had known for 6 years told me he had heard Highway Sue's voice through his CB the night before, in a stretch of road where no exit existed, and he had pulled over on the shoulder and put the truck in park and sat there shaking until sunrise. He said he had not turned the radio off. He said the radio had turned itself off the moment the sun came up, like somebody had flipped a switch from the other side. That driver retired 3 months later. Took a yard job. Will not get behind the wheel of anything bigger than a pickup truck. That conversation is the only time I ever saw the man cry. I did not laugh at the story when he told it. I told myself I was just being polite. I had a sleeper full of no-dos and a thermos full of cold coffee and 2,600 miles between me and a paycheck. I was not going to take any exit I did not put into my GPS myself. I told myself that out loud, the way truckers tell themselves things on long runs to make them true. That was December 3rd, 2 years ago. The next night was the 4th. I had picked up a load of palletized auto parts in a yard outside Joplin and was running it eastbound to a distribution center I will also not name. Schedule was tight. I had been awake since 4 a.m. the previous day. I had eaten one gas station sandwich and 3 cans of an energy drink that tastes like battery acid and regret. The rain came in around midnight and never let up. By 2 in the morning, the rain had turned into something between sleet and ice, and the highway had emptied out the way it does when truckers with sense have already pulled into a rest area. I should have been one of them. I wasn't. I was thinking about my mortgage. I was thinking about the fact that my dispatcher had told me that very afternoon that if I missed one more delivery window, I was going to be off the priority board for the rest of the quarter. I was thinking about my ex calling me the week before to tell me the dog had died and how I had not been able to fly back for it, and how the last time I had touched that animal had been 4 months earlier through a chain-link fence in a yard that was no longer mine. I was thinking about a lot of things that a man should not be thinking about at the wheel of an 80,000-pound truck on a sheet of black ice. So I kept my foot in it. The highway was empty in a way that felt rehearsed. I went 40 miles without seeing another set of taillights. I went 60 without passing a single rig parked on the shoulder, which is unusual on any interstate at any hour. The CB had been quiet for 2 hours. The Bluetooth had not chimed. The only thing alive in that cab was me and a dashboard clock and the wipers slapping back and forth over a windshield that was starting to fog from the inside no matter how hard the defrost ran. The CB came on by itself. I want to say that very plainly, because in the moment my mind tried to give me 100 reasons it could be something else. A loose wire, a stuck switch. The squelch knob bumped by my elbow. But I had not touched it. I had not even thought about it. The CB came on by itself, settled on a channel that was not in the band, and a woman's voice came out of the speaker like it had been waiting for me to be alone. She used my name. I have a handle on the CB, every trucker does. Mine is Bolan, not Marco. Bolan. There is no driver on any frequency anywhere in this country who would have called me Marco. Not one. The handle is the firewall. You give the handle, you don't give the name. That's the rule. That has always been the rule. I tried to change the channel. The dial wouldn't turn. I tried to power the unit down. The power switch wouldn't move. I yanked the coil cord on the handset, and the handset stayed in the cradle like it had been welded. The exit was on the right. There was no exit on my GPS. There was no exit on the laminated route map clipped to my visor. There was, to my certain knowledge, no exit on that stretch of highway, because I had run that stretch of highway 9 times in the previous 12 months, and there was nothing between the last way station and the next town but pine trees and dark. But I took it. I took the exit. I will spend the rest of my life trying to tell you why. I have a few theories. Maybe she said my name in my mother's voice, and I was already 2 days without sleep, and the part of me that knows what is real had thinned to a thread. Maybe the legend had been sitting in me for 11 years, like a tooth waiting to crack. Maybe the road just decides sometimes that it is your turn, and a man with his foot on a fuel pedal is not really steering. Not the way he thinks he is. The truth is, I don't know which one of those is right, and I am not sure it matters. I took the exit. The wheel turned. The Peterbilt drifted right. And the rain stopped, the way it stops in a dream, between one tire revolution and the next. The off-ramp was perfect. That's what hit me first. The pavement was new, the reflectors were new. The shoulder was clean, no broken bottles, no shredded retread, no dead deer. Every off-ramp in America has at least one dead deer. This one didn't. The painted lines glowed in my headlights like they had been put down that afternoon, and the air through my cracked window had gone warm. December 4th, an ice storm chasing me out of Missouri, and the air at the bottom of that ramp was warm. That's when I heard the others, 8 of them. I counted, 8 voices, 8 names, 8 dates, every single one a driver I had heard about on the CB in the 11 years I had been on the road. Every single one of them a missing person flyer at some truck stop somewhere. Highway Sue, Big Slim, Danny Kaye, Frank Ojeda, a man named Whitfield, a man named Pereira, a man named Tagaloa, and a kid out of Bakersfield they only ever called Junior because he didn't have a handle yet when he disappeared. The exit fed into a frontage road. The frontage road fed into a gravel lot. The gravel lot fed into a single building with a flat roof and a long row of windows pouring warm yellow light into the cold, black night, and a sign on the roof in cursive neon that read Sue's, and underneath it, in smaller white letters, "Open all night, every night, drivers welcome." There were 8 rigs in the lot. Not idling, not cooling. Cold, dust on the hoods, pine needles on the windshields, tires flat on one side. They had been there a long, long time, each one in its perfect spot, each one nose out, the way a real driver parks, and on the side of one of them, faded but still legible, a logo I knew from a missing driver story I'd heard in Tucson in 2017. A little blue swallow over the words Reyes Transport. Big Slim's truck. I want to tell you about the order of those trucks because I think about it more than I should. They were lined up by year, not by license plate, not by company, by year of disappearance. The oldest one, a flatbed Mack from the late 50s, paint cracked, hood ornament missing, was farthest from the door. Each truck after it was a little newer, a little less rusted, a little closer to mine. The last one in the row, the one nearest my Peterbilt, was a 2014 Freightliner with a Bakersfield plate. Junior's truck. The kid who never had a handle. 23 years old when the road took him. The cab on his rig still had a little plush dashboard dog stuck to the inside of the windshield, faded yellow, pinned there with a suction cup that had outlasted its owner. I should have put the truck in gear. I should have backed out of that lot, blown through the off-ramp the wrong way if I had to, and not stopped until I hit a town with a working sheriff. I knew that. I knew that the way a rabbit knows the shape of a hawk against a sky. Every cell in my body knew it. I got out of the truck. The gravel didn't move under my boots. I walked to the door. The walk from my truck to that door is 20 feet of painted gravel that I will replay in my head every night for the rest of my life. I could feel, with every step, that there was something underneath the lot that did not want me looking down. The pines around the parking area did not move in a wind that should have been moving them. The exhaust from my idling truck rose straight up in a column and stopped about 10 feet above the cab, like it had hit a ceiling I could not see. A moth, the only living thing in that lot besides me, was circling one of the warm yellow window bulbs on the front of the diner, and the moth was not flying. It was moving in a perfect ring, at the same height, at the same speed, the way a model train goes around a track. Somebody had built that moth, or somebody had taught it, or there were no moths, and that was just one more thing in the shape of a moth. I walked to the door. The 8 drivers were already there, waiting. For me. They didn't move when I entered, didn't blink, didn't turn, didn't breathe. Each one had a coffee cup in his right hand, untouched. The steam from each cup rose in a perfectly identical curl. Their eyes were painted, lacquered. The way a department store mannequin's eyes are painted, except softer, warmer, like somebody loved the dolls they were making. I walked past them. I knew their names. I had heard their voices on the CB 20 minutes ago, and now I could put faces to everyone. I think the worst part is that they were not snarling. They were not reaching. They were not staring. They were waiting. The way a man waits at a table for the friend who's running late. Patient, unbothered. Sure, he'll come. Every one of them had something on the counter in front of him, beside the coffee. A little personal item. A trucker's wallet on a chain, open to a faded photograph of a woman I did not recognize. A keychain shaped like a little blue swallow. A child's drawing of a truck, done in crayon, signed in handwriting too young to be steady. A high school class ring, a worn paperback Bible with a thumbprint on the cover where it had been opened 10,000 times. The things you keep in your sleeper. The things you reach for when you've been alone in a cab for 40 hours and you need to remember what you are driving home toward. They had brought their reasons with them, every one of them, and the reasons had been laid out on the counter like place settings. There was one empty booth. Booth 9. The vinyl on the bench was the deep red of arterial blood, cracked at the seams in just the right places to look real. The Formica tabletop had a single chrome napkin holder and a single laminated menu, face down. The chair on the booth side, and I know that doesn't make sense. A booth doesn't have a chair, but this one did, pulled itself out for me as I approached. Not jerked, not shoved. Pulled, patient, inviting. The booth had a brass plaque on the wall above it, Booth 9, engraved beneath the number in the same handwriting as the menu, reserved. The wall around the plaque was covered, top to bottom, in framed photographs, Polaroids, Kodachromes, school pictures, truckers smiling at a camera at this very booth, in clothes from every decade since the 50s, every one of them seated where I was about to sit, every one of them with the same warm yellow light on their face, every one of them with their right hand wrapped around a white ceramic mug. I counted 22 photographs without trying. I would have counted more, but my eyes did not want to do it. The frames were dusted. Somebody in this place that had no staff but a faceless waitress dusted the frames. I sat down. I did not decide to. I just sat down. A coffee appeared in front of me. "What can I get you, hon?" she said. "You've been driving so long." I asked her what this place was. She laughed, soft, indulgent, the way you laugh at a child asking what the moon is. "It's a rest stop, Marco. You earn your rest." She slid the menu in front of me. She turned it over. Every entry on that menu was a name. Every name had a date. The date started in 1958, a name I didn't know, Earl Whitfield, a man who must have been some other generation's missing legend. And they marched forward through the decades like tombstones in a row. And at the bottom of the list, in the same handwriting as all the rest, was my own name and the date that was, by the dashboard clock in my truck, only 40 minutes old. I told her I wasn't hungry. I looked at the door. The door was gone. There was a plate in front of me. I don't remember her bringing it. I don't remember her pad coming up. I don't remember an order being placed. There was just suddenly a plate, a single cut of meat. Rare, dark, glistening. The kind of cut a steakhouse charges you $60 for and pretends it knows where it came from. The last line of the menu was lit. I want to be very clear about what it said, because I have replayed this in my head every night for 2 years. It said Marco Bolan, then a long dotted line the way menu items have when they are leading you to a price, and then in the place where the price would be, it said Tonight's Special. I want to be honest about what I was thinking in that moment, because I have replayed it more times than I can count, and I have never been able to dress it up into something heroic. I was not thinking about the 8 men at the counter. I was not thinking about my ex-wife or my dispatcher or the load of auto parts in my trailer or the dispatcher's note about the priority board. I was thinking that if I did not eat, I was going to stay. And every part of my body that still had any survival left in it understood, in a wordless animal way, that whatever staying meant in this place, it meant the painted eyes. It meant the cold trucks in the row. It meant a name on a menu and a date that did not move. I picked up the fork. I ate one bite. I think it was rare beef. I think. I looked up at the napkin holder. I saw what I was becoming. The pie was not pie. I do not know what the pie was. The pie was on a glass-domed stand at the end of the counter that I had not seen there when I came in, and the stand was rotating, slowly, on a base that hummed the way a refrigerator motor hums. The wedge inside it was the color of an old bruise, yellowing at the edges. There was a single fork resting beside the stand. There was a small handwritten card propped up next to the fork. The card read, Marco Bolan, December 4th, 2026. 2 bites. 2 bites. I understood in that moment what the menu had been telling me. The first bite is the deal, the second bite is the contract, the third bite is the chair. There is no chair number 10. There is no booth number 10. There is only a row of stools at a counter and a row of trucks in a lot and a row of names on a menu, and the line keeps moving, 1 bite at a time, year after year, until the man becomes wax and the wax becomes silent and the silence becomes another seat for the next man who takes the exit. Sue had said it plainly. The deal is, you eat or you stay. She had not said how much you ate. She had not said where the line was. The line was after 1. The pie was the second. The chair was the third. I dropped the fork. I stood up. I do not know what made me reach for the light switch. I want to tell you it was instinct. I want to tell you it was something my grandmother used to say about doors that aren't doors. The truth is I don't know. There was a brass-plated light switch in the wallpaper where a door should have been, and I reached for it, because reaching for it was the only thing I could think to do, and I flipped it. The lights went out. The door was back. I ran. I put it in gear, and I did not look in the mirror. I drove 11 hours straight to the next legal stop. I will not pretend that was a good idea. I will not pretend I was safe to drive. My hands were the wrong color. My reflection in the windshield was a face I almost recognized. I drank cold coffee and kept the window cracked and bit the inside of my cheek every time I felt my eyes start to lacquer over from the corners. By the time I rolled into a pilot outside of Effingham at 2 in the afternoon, I was a man held together by adrenaline and the certainty that if I closed my eyes, I would open them in booth 9. The text came in at the pilot. Unknown number, too many digits. I read it once. I have not opened it again. I have not deleted it either. I am told that you should delete things like that. I am told that keeping them gives them a hook in you. I think the hook is in me already. I don't think a delete button reaches that deep. I did not call dispatch. I did not call my ex-wife. I did not call the cops. I am a long-haul trucker. I know what happens to long-haul truckers who walk into a precinct and tell a desk sergeant about an exit that isn't on any GPS and a menu that has their own name on it. I know what unit they refer me to. I know what kind of leave I get put on. I know what kind of psychiatric evaluation comes after. And I know because 8 men on a closed-channel CB told me by name, by date, by exit, that the road has ways of finding people who are off the road too long. I drive a different lane now. I picked up new routes. I told my dispatcher I had a sister in Tampa and needed Florida runs through the winter. I have not been within 200 miles of mile 87 since that night. I do not run anywhere near that stretch on the 4th of any month. I do not drive past midnight on December 3rd, ever, for any money. I sleep in well-lit lots. I keep a printed Rand McNally in the cab, and I look at it every time my GPS suggests a route I don't recognize, because GPS lies and paper does not. But the worst part, the part I could not tell my ex, could not tell my dispatcher, can only tell you because you are a stranger at 3 in the morning who clicked on the right video, is that some nights I am parked in a Walmart lot in Lubbock or a rest area in Pennsylvania, and I will look up from my sleeper bunk through the windshield across some empty stretch of dark, and I will see, very far off, in a place where there is no town, no truck stop, no farmhouse, a single warm yellow window glow flickering, exactly the color of those bulbs in those fixtures that don't exist. The diner is following me. Every December 4th, forever, that warm yellow window finds me. It is closer some years than others. Last year it was across a field outside Tulsa. The year before that it was across a cornfield in Iowa. This year, and I am telling you this on April 27th, 2026, with 221 days to go, this year I have a route that takes me through Missouri on the 4th. I have already filed for the day off. I have already told my dispatcher I am sick. I have already, twice in the last week, woken up in the cab with a coffee cup in my right hand that I do not remember pouring. If you are out there driving tonight, and your CB clicks on by itself, and a woman uses your real name, keep going. If your GPS skips a marker, keep going. If you see a hand-painted sign for an exit that should not be there, keep going. If you have ever in your life heard, on any radio, in any cab, 8 voices saying 8 names, keep going. I ate 1 bite. That is the only reason I am still talking to you. I do not know how many bites it takes before the booth keeps you. I do not want to find out. If you are new here, hit subscribe and turn the bell on. I narrate horror stories from the road, from the deep water, from the places people don't talk about, every week on Dread Frequency. If you want the rest of the story, the 2 warning broadcasts that came in on the CB the nights before this one, they are linked in the description. Listen to them in order. Listen to them with the lights on. And if you are a long-haul driver, you already know what I'm going to say. Don't take the exit. Don't sit at the booth. Don't read your own name on the menu. Drive safe. Eyes up. Hands on the wheel. I'll see you on the next channel.